Well, hello everybody. I'm Matthew Sabatine. I am the writer for Common Issues. Well, the only writer right now. I'm hoping and planning to find more people in the future to write. But I have with me today Joshua Stifler. He has been my best friend for a really long time. But I am very pleased to have him with us here today. So all of the content that you have been reading on Common Issues has been from me, but Common Issues would not be possible if I did not have Joshua with me, because he has been doing all of the coding, all of the design work, the theme work, the security work, making sure that nobody hacks into our site. He created the Common Issues Facebook page. He has corresponded with other people out there. He has been working on trying to get Common Issues to be known by a lot of people. It's because of Joshua that we're even able to have this video right now. So I just want to make sure that he gets all of that credit.
I'm the behind the scenes man.
He's the behind the scenes man. I also want you to know that Joshua is actually studying Christian counseling. Yeah.
Yeah, I have an associate's in psychology right now, and then probably by next spring or even the fall next year, I will have my counseling degree, and then I'm going to go straight from the counseling degree and go right into the Master's of Arts and Religious Studies.
Okay.
So it's a MARS degree, it's a master's. So
good, awesome. So this is a mutual interest that you and I have.
Yep.
We love studying about religion and
psychology
in relation to religion, Christianity, the Bible.
And I am going to start writing now. I am going to start posting content. I'm going to be talking about different types of addictions, psychological issues, eating disorders, PTSD, stuff like that. That's going to be
yeah. That's pretty awesome. I think you told me maybe a week or two ago that you would like to write about how video games affect our children.
This goes back to the Columbine. Those kids, they played a lot of first-person, third-person shooters. There's a huge study and articles about what they played and how they mixed the fantasy of the video game in with their reality at their school.
Have you read? I'm trying to remember the one guy's name, Eric Harris. But they wrote a long note about their philosophy on life and human beings and just existence in general, and their pathology was very profound. Both of those individuals were very, very depressed.
Yeah. Bullying was one of the major causes of it, and I'm also going to talk about bullying later on, because that's a big problem that's going on.
I feel
America.
like in order to get yourself to be in such a dark psychological place where you can have almost no qualms about massacring multiple people, you have to have such a disregard for life, a disregard for yourself. You have to be conscienceless.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being in a place like that. You have to suffer from so much trauma and abuse. I wholeheartedly believe that there's absolutely no way that people like those two could become who they became without having prior traumatic events. Probably is some kind of very terrible abuse in their past, maybe sexual, definitely physical and emotional. Because what we're actually finding now today, that happened back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But now in the 2000s, a lot of research has been done on people who have suffered with neglect, emotional, physical abuse, sexual abuse during their childhood. They had what professionals are calling adverse childhood experiences, and these things, these experiences contribute to a lot of terrible pathologies that sane people can't even wrap their minds around.
One of the biggest things that I found while studying psychology over the past 4 to 6 years is that a lot of people's issues and tendencies come from their childhood.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I know that the Columbine, the shooters, actually did have a traumatic childhood. One of the biggest things is these kids are not only getting bullied at home, but they're taking that and either they're bullying people at school or they're getting bullied at school. So either they're the victim or they are the aggressor.
And they're being bullied at home?
Yeah.
By maybe siblings?
Or parents. Bullying can take forms from parents to teachers. Even teachers are bullying now.
Okay.
You go to a supermarket, and if a kid looks different than the rest, you get these strangers who are casting judgment, which can be a type of verbal abuse or bullying.
Yeah.
Bullying's a big epidemic that's going on in America.
So verbal abuse and bullying are
very similar.
Very similar. Yeah. So, I find it interesting to say that a parent can bully a child. I had a pretty good childhood. My parents, I would not say that they really bullied me. We had our problems. We had our tiffs. We had our fights. We had our explosive episodes. But I would never. I can't say really that I suffered real, profound, deep-seated, pervasive trauma to the point where it's really hard to function without medication today.
Yeah, well, let's look at an example real quick.
Okay.
Where I lived before, there was a girl, and she was being bullied in her home life by her father, who was very involved in the church. And it wasn't the church I was going to. I just knew about it. But the father was very abusive to the point where, and bullying, to the point where she wasn't overweight, but yet he would call her fat. He would tell her she needed to lose weight.
Yeah.
And she developed an eating disorder and still has that eating disorder today. I actually went to school with this girl, and we were friends, and she told me what her dad was like.
So it sounds like to me that parental influence in a child's life greater than whatever influence can come from peers, teachers, distant relatives. It's the people that you were born from that have the most influence on you, and if you experience anything, all negative experience. I'm not sure if I can say all negative experiences, but a lot of your negative experiences during childhood that come from your parents are going to largely determine the course of your life. They're saying that the first 3 years of your life are the most impressionable years, and because they're the most impressionable years, they are the most important in the sense that those 3 years will chart the course of much of your lives. There was a scientific study done on, I think, 17,000 people, and 67% of that population had suffered childhood trauma that later in life resulted in things like chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, cardiovascular problems.
Yeah, it's the stress that causes
the post-traumatic stress. You'll have immune system disorders.
Yeah.
You're more at risk of these things. Like I said before, the childhood trauma, it puts you at greater risk.
Yeah, and the one thing that I want to make clear is correcting a child is not verbal abuse or bullying.
Or neglect.
Correcting a child is the proper thing to do, because when you are being a parent, you're not raising a child, you are raising a future adult.
Yeah.
So if your child is doing some kind of behavior that you think is funny because they're 4 years old, think to yourself, is it going to be funny whenever they're 14 years old or when they're 24 years old? You need to think if it's going to be funny when they are an adult. And if it's not, then you need to correct it. So correcting a child is not neglect, abuse, bullying, unless, of course, you take it to the extreme where you start name calling and nitpicking and
insulting,
tearing them down, insulting. Yeah, that's whenever it becomes abuse, verbal abuse, or bullying. That's I mean, these kids are getting it at their schools, and this is, to bring this around full circle, this is what is causing kids to act out at school. The bullying is such an epidemic. It used to just be where you'd hear about it from peer to peer. Now it's spouse to spouse, child to child, brother and sister, parents and children, even aunts, uncles, grandparents. You know, you hear about bullying now all throughout, and I mean, it's becoming such an epidemic that I think people need to be made aware what the effects of bullying can cause. And when bullying's mixed with violent video games, or bullying's mixed with anxiety disorders, or anger issues, or stress, that's whenever these kids start acting out. A kid needs attention, so if they're not getting the positive, they're going to go straight for the negative attention.
Yeah.
It's just how the child's brain works. So if they're not getting attention when they're being good, they're going to act out, because even if their parents are yelling at them, they're still giving them attention.
My last 4 or 5 posts on common issues have been very much related to what we're talking about now. I may not have everything right at this time. I may not have all of my facts straight, but this is what I feel like I'm getting. I feel like people in society, adults, parents who are raising their children, they are very nonchalant about the effects that they have on their children. They are just very unaware. They don't know. They're just naive about how everything that they do, even how they exert their emotional selves onto their children. They're not really, even when they're not trying to give off a certain presence or character. There are a lot of things that the child picks up on.
Yeah.
How do I want to say it? Subliminal social cues.
Yeah.
That affect the child's psyche. Children are such a sponge. You know, they take in everything. They're absorbing everything. They'll take everything personal. If you make the child feel like it's really about him or her, you know, you did this, it's your fault. You know, if you're looking down on the child, if you're behaving and talking in a way that brings shame to the child is going to take that very personally. The child is not going to know to reason with themselves and think, okay, should I really feel bad about this? Was it really my fault?
Yeah.
No, the child is going to perceive the situation as it being incumbent on them. They are at fault.
And then they take the way that the parent responded to this action, and when somebody does the same action to them, be it at school, be it when they're hanging out with their brothers and sisters, or cousins, or relatives, they're going to act the same way the parent did.
Yeah.
Because they are sponges.
Right.
And parents have such an impression on young children, so that's something that, you know, people need to be aware of. So.
We just wanted to kind of give you another introductory video. We here at Common Issues really appreciate you watching this video. It means more to us than you could ever know.
Yeah.
It means a lot to us for you to not only watch this, but share this with your friends and your family. Let them know about Common Issues. Like our Facebook page. please.
And if you have any topics that you would like us to discuss or research or look into, you can go ahead and send us a message on Facebook or email us at commonissues.contactus@gmail.com.
Thanks a lot, and goodbye.